Well, we had a chance to evaluate the film and see what happened, what transpired in greater detail, and get a clearer picture of what happened. And obviously it was a tough loss. It was a tough night. It's nowhere within any of our players, our coaches, myself, that we want to put that out there on the field. A loss to an FCS team, and that's what it was. Call it what it was. On the flip side of it, that was as well executing of a team in 3 phases that I've been around in the first 6 minutes of a football game, and that was I felt like the team was ready to play. I feel like they came out gunzo blazing. The bottom line is we got to win a football game. That's my job, to make sure this team wins a football game and gets those winning ways back, and these seniors deserve it. One thing that is a bit of a new experience for really anybody in college football, myself included. To actually go up by 3 scores, 21-0, within the first 5-6 minutes of a game. I mean, you're in a space that very few people are going to be in, and the natural human condition is certainly to let up, to be complacent, to say, finally, here we go. And we had to all talk about it as a program, coaches, and also players. Was your mindset at 21-0? Was my mindset the exact same as it was when we ran out of that tunnel, gunzo blazing? Because we were on fire running out of that tunnel, and that's got to be our mindset going forward in dealing with that type of success. A lot of players on this team are younger players, obviously, and we do have some veteran players that are on the defensive side of the ball and a couple on offense. But in reality, we all haven't been in that type of situation where it is 21-0 with 54 minutes to play in a ball game. And the way that we fix that is that we just focus on one play, calling the right play, executing the play. No matter what the score is, no matter what the circumstance is, we could be up 21, we could be down by 15, whatever it may be. We just got to worry about that one individual play and execute it to the best of our ability with laser focus. And that to me is the solution. I know it's philosophical. And we obviously learned a lot from the film in a lot of different areas. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
What's Drew's status right now?
Drew's still being evaluated. It was kind of a similar play to the Wisconsin game. Late in the game, fourth quarter, it wasn't a designed quarterback run. It was a designed pass. Took off and scrambled and took a strange knot, in his upper body. So, we were in the same place a week ago on Monday, evaluating if he would be playing or not. And I think he'll probably be spotty this week at practice, to be honest. And we'll go from there with regards to his decision. It will be a game time decision. We were waiting on some more information to know exactly where it is. I know that he did have mobility today, so there was it's not like there's a lack of mobility in his upper body. So that means that there are some positive movements.
Did he re-aggravate the same injury from Wisconsin, or was this a different?
It was a different part of the upper body. So yeah, it was different.
Who would start in place?
Yeah, we're gonna this week in practice. I think we're gonna get, we're gonna share equal reps right now between Stephen Duncan, who I thought was very, very good this fall camp, and then Davis Shanley, who missed a good chunk of fall camp. As a result of a hamstring that tweaked up in the first 3 days of camp. But I thought he played very well against Wisconsin. So we had a chance to see him come in and out minus the turnover. Saw him move the ball well and operate well, shoot third down conversion first snap as a college player. I think it was like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and threw an absolute seed. So he also gives you some versatility as an athlete. He's a quick twitch athlete. And then Stephen Duncan, I think his athleticism and his durability as a player is underrated. I think everybody knows him as a strong on quarterback, but he's got the ability to be a full tool set. He's got the whole skill set as a quarterback. So we got to see who's going to execute this week in practice, and then we got to see the status of Drew, which is obviously the most important piece from making that decision.
Mike, about Louisville, the most publicized change from a year ago is not having Lamar Jackson anymore. And I'm not even going to ask if the team is different, because obviously you replace him, it's going to be different. But what has impressed you with Louisville with the transition they've made from Lamar Jackson to the team they have now?
I would say just their overall size. I know that's not they're very much different than a year ago, but their size at receiver really stands out to me. You can tell that Coach Petrino takes a lot of pride in big receivers and recruiting big receivers and finding mismatches, big guys that can run. But you look across the board at their wide receiver depth: 6'3", 218, 6'6", 205, 6'3", 204. That's their third string guy. 6'4", 220, and then 6'2", 202, and 6'3", 189. We don't have a lot of 6'3" to 6'6" corners or safeties, so we got to do a great job of playing unified in the secondary, because one-on-one they're going to have some size advantages.
You've got a number of Louisville natives on the roster. This is an in-state matchup. Does that kind of help to get your team excited to move on from last week?
Just after the game in the locker room, obviously, there's a lot of disappointment. There's a feeling of embarrassment. We do have a 24-hour rule. We abide by it. We actually build our schedule so that now, with Sunday being our day that we work, we actually review the film. We go practice and we correct and review, and then right after period 4, we actually move to the next opponent. And we say that that's the burial of the previous opponent, period. And it could be coming off a major win. Could be off of one of the biggest wins in school history. We're still going to bury that game right then and there. And then not only focus on the next opponent, but kind of start transitioning into focusing on just one rep at a time, one snap at a time. And that's what we'll do regardless. And the fact that it is Louisville, the fact that it is in-state, there is extra incentive for us to go play great. Our alumni base up in Louisville, always the best events that I go to every year as it relates to Western Kentucky alums, and I love the energy, the passion that Louisville fans, that are WKU alums, that they bring to the table. We expect, that stadium to have a lot of WKU fans in it that are alums of this university, because they're proud up there. They know that they're in a U of L and UK dominated part of the state, and they want to stand tall, and they want to wear that towel with pride, and we want to go represent with pride. And then the players on our team, I think about Daquan Mobley and Dre Ferris, who's from Shelbyville, and Masai White, who's from the same high school, Martha Lane Collins, and just the run of great players from Louisville: Taywon Taylor, Deion Yelder. There's a lot of upper class players for our team that are going to play with a lot of pride, going up there to their hometown and playing against a team that they grew up around and grew up watching.
Your predecessor said that the goal was to schedule a series for Louisville and get this game. Do you like playing the in-state schools and having this kind of opportunity?
There's no question. I think Kentucky's a really neat state from an interstate athletic NCAA standpoint, where there are the kind of the two big daddies in the state, UK and U of L, and then the programs here down at WKU and in various sports that has a chip on its shoulder, that it wants to be considered a part of the elite. And I think it's huge for us to play against these guys. I mean, we'd love to get UK back on the schedule because of the impact of UK in the state. U of L has just as much impact, certainly in recruiting, because of the caliber of high school football that's being played up in Louisville. We're going to go out, and for us, it's huge in recruiting. We're going to have 5 coaches on the road on Friday night going to games. And myself, I'll be going to a premier matchup. Can't name the schools, obviously, for NCAA rules, but I'll be at a game myself and on the sidelines and representing WKU and evaluating players. And we want to go out and play well and represent our brand in an area that's really important.
Have you started to get some answers from the running game as to who you get some carries to?
We do, yeah. I think Garland LaFrance, he emerged as a playmaker for us, in the pass game, but also in the run game. I think, looking back at what we did run game-wise, the numbers obviously were not favorable. The 6 sacks play a huge role in that. A sack fumble takes away from your rushing stats. We ended up really calling about 22 called runs out of 75 plays. I know it seems like we're a run-heavy team. We ended up, I think, Drew was in at least the top 3 or 4 in the country on Saturday in passing yardage. But we got to give our offensive line a chance to settle in, from a play calling standpoint, and give them more at bats to run the ball. Because in called runs, we were just under 4 yards a carry. which is, you know, you have to kind of look at the analytics of it. You see the number, whatever it seemed like, 47 yards or whatever it was, 42 yards of rushing. That obviously takes into account the sacks, which is part of your overall offensive production, but it's not part of your run game. So I think that was important for us to look back at the run game and realize that we need to get more at bats up front, and we can't allow teams to just pin their ears back and rush the passer the whole game. And we did have our shot plays. We hit some shot plays and we left some out on the field. But you know, when you do push the ball down the field, you leave yourself a little bit vulnerable in protection. So that obviously did happen, but in terms of the running backs, you know, I think you know, I do think that Josh Samuel in the carries that he's had has run the ball very well, and Garland clearly is emerging as one of our better players.
What does Garland do that just makes him a big play threat whenever he touches the ball?
He's just such a functional player. He can catch the ball thrown awkwardly. He's got the ability to make a cut on a dime, which is a rare ability, and certainly he's got that home run ability as a runner, and we all saw that. I mean, there was nobody that was even going to get into the conversation with him as he ran down the field. And you know, that was a really well executed play too. It wasn't just them leaving him open. Xavier Lane on that play ran a shallow crossing route and created a natural traffic rub, if you will, not a pick, but a natural traffic rub. And his defender, he actually delivered the defender in man coverage onto the Will linebacker that was covering Garland's player, and that was obviously by design. And once Drew recognized it, you know, we knew that play was going to be gone with Garland's speed.
Some uncertainty quarterback too for Louisville. They played Cunningham in the last game. How do you go into that trying to prepare for?
We do. Yeah, they're two different players. You know, I think when you look at him, Malik Cunningham, he's going to, from a skill set standpoint, he brings about a lot what they played with a year ago, in terms of his dynamic abilities as a runner. You know, can make off-schedule throws. Jawan Pass is built like an NFL sturdy-bodied quarterback. I recruited Jawan when I was at Notre Dame. I had some conversations with him. I think very highly of him as a talent. You know, and I know that there are some question marks right now about their quarterback position, and it appears, you know, watching the film that, you know, in those conditions that they played against Indiana State, that Malik Cunningham, you know, really gave them a spark, and because of his ability to make off-schedule plays, to run the football, to pull the ball down in zone read and quarterback power, you know, sweep read. So I thought, you know, he looked pretty dynamic, and I know he got dinged up and carted off, and I think that, you know, we'll prepare for both players.
Mike, I asked this, I like you, I respect you, and I couldn't ask you this right after the game because obviously you have access to it, but you're a bright guy and you know what's going on around. You kind of have a rule within yourself and a message you send to your team when there's fan backlash about the next loss. I hope that question is respected.
No, it's good. It really is. You know, I think that we live in a day and age in social media that can be used as such a positive. It can. I mean, it's a way for us to constantly market our program to recruits. You know, I'm on that avenue solely for the purpose of branding our program and telling the good news of this program and of this university, of this institution. You know, but it's also a strange intersection that it's also become the space of message boards. You know, and so I think it's really important for us to place the most value on what's being said inside our own walls, both on this campus and in that football facility. And so, you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, there are times during the season where that thing gets deleted from all devices. And if anything else, it just helps us to keep laser focus on what's important, and that's preparing for Louisville right now. You know, I also do know that when you're hired as a head football coach, particularly in 2018, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I took this job with that, with knowing that full well. I've been around this game my entire life. There's nothing that surprises me. I've heard everything that could possibly be said about my own dad in the stands, and I live with that as a child. That doesn't make it easy for my family, my kids, but at the end of the day, we signed up for this. You know, me as a coach, I love this challenge. I love going back to the drawing board after a tough game and finding solutions. It's what we live live for. And that's our whole staff. We live for finding solutions to the problems. And you know, you can't mourn for more than 24 hours, so you got to cut all the negative noise out and keep everything positive moving forward and protect your players. And just be honest. Be honest about what you saw in the film, and then also realize that they're our most important assets as our players. They're the most important pieces of the puzzle. So you know, we're never going to ask our players to get off social media. Some people have said that. I don't think that's realistic. It's too big a part of our culture. But I think it's important to educate them that the most important voices are of your teammates, of your friends, of your family members, and certainly the coaches and the administration here on campus.
What are those solutions? You said that you're trying to find solutions right now to fix what's going on. What do you think those solutions are?
You know, I think part of it is you know, stuff I've mentioned already. You know, I've talked about making sure that we you know, we're higher than, you know, 30% of our total calls are runs. I mean, that's not a balanced offense, or nowhere even remotely close to it. And it also doesn't put our offensive line in the best position to get into a rhythm in the run game. You know, I think that no matter the score, I think the piece that I already mentioned, no matter the score, that we focus on and everything one play at a time. One play at a time, and not think about the big picture. Think about just solely that play and executing that play. I think defensively, eliminating the big plays and tackling in space. That really was you know, a defensive performance that was really solid. There were about 4 snaps on defense that you know, we missed a tackle, or you know, Maine made a great play in one-on-one coverage down the field. Made a great throw and made a great catch. So eliminating the big plays, and the solutions to that is to play top down in the secondary, and we got to get guys down and wrap up and tackle, get guys down on the ground. You know, I think we have done an adequate job of not, you know, grossly turning the football over offensively. I think that we had a trick play in the first game, and then you know, another play obviously that you know, we fumbled inside the red zone late in the game against Wisconsin. But you know, the turnover piece hasn't been a huge part of what we've done, minus the sack fumble. That was a huge play in the game. We've got to eliminate sacks, but you can eliminate sacks by running the ball more effectively, getting the ball out of our hands, and being opportunistic. And but I do think that one piece of allowing our offensive line to get into a rhythm.
Mike, how's Xavier Wayne doing mentally and emotionally? We see what's happened the first 2 weeks, and I know you believe in him, but you know, if I'm Xavier, obviously he's given his best effort. You believe in him, but just how do you think he's doing mentally right now?
I think he's doing well. I think he's ready to come back to practice and compete, and you know, and realize that he's got to continue to improve. And you know, he still is a young player, you know, and he's got a lot of ability, and I think he wants to come back and be hungry and practice at a high level. And I think he just got to realize that he's practiced really well. He's trained hard. He's got to have confidence in that going onto the game field, and allow that to transition over.
Yep. That's it.
Thank you, guys.